Hey folks, this is Ben Yessel. How's it going? Just a quick video here. Well, it might not be so quick, but gonna talk a lot about a lot of folks I know, a lot of people that are talking about different diets. But I'm gonna talk about some other diets that maybe I haven't talked about as much in the past, or more especially, I want to talk about how I personally make sense of all the diets, many of the diets out there. Now, there are many diets I'm not going to talk about because I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in those diets. But there are some diets out there that I do put some stock in. But there's so many of them, I probably won't be able to. I know what they are, like the Atkins and South Beach diets and Nutrisystem and those old ones and Weight Watchers and things. Those guys, if you guys are interested, I think there's other information on YouTube about that stuff. I'm just gonna talk about um, the ones that I'm kind of more my radar right now. Starting with the top and just going down from there. And then I'll eventually get to the very last place. I'll kind of get to a synthesis of how I try to think about incorporate everything I'm hearing, make sense of everything I'm hearing, basically. So let's start here at the top. Our trusty, faithful Dr. Fuhrman, Nutritarianism, or he either calls it GOMS or G-bombs: greens, onions, mushrooms, beans, berries, and seeds. So it's true, it's winter right now, so there's not really a whole lot in the way of fresh berries that are really super affordable or super amazingly tasting. So I probably should be thinking about getting some more frozen berries. I think I had some, but they're in a funny place in my freezer. I get some frozen strawberries. Those frozen berries, though, can be very nice. And yeah, for some reason, QFC just hasn't been really doing the pomegranate thing so much. So I kind of do miss having pomegranate, but whatever. Um, but berries are a big deal, and they're tasty. Um, so they're still very much something that I look for or I'm hopeful for. And also kind of associated with berries, I suppose, would be cherries, like other fruit. Pretty similar. But Dr. Furman's like go for that fruit, man. I mean, I know he knows that maybe it's better to have lots more vegetables, but he's definitely pro fruit. So fruit tastes good. So I think it's something that I look forward to when I go shopping is getting some more fruit, especially those berries. Okay, so dark leafy greens. I really have been not as great at eating my fresh dark leafy greens recently. Just not as good as I usually have been. But I definitely am still have my frozen greens. It's just I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the habit. Not sure what, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine health wise. Everything's fine. But and I definitely probably having more vegetables than I might sound like I'm eating. I definitely am eating vegetables, folks. I'm definitely getting my vegetables. It's just that when it comes to nutritarianism, I mean, we're talking about something that you have every single meal in abundant amounts, whether in salads and cooked greens. It's essentially what you're eating is vegetables, and I'm not eating in that level, but I am aware that this is something I need to be eating. That being said, my favorite, because I have to have favorites, even though there's very slight differences in taste, and the more you eat this stuff, the more tasty it gets, and the more you won't want to have the super sweet, the super, not so healthy stuff. But I am partial to collards, but again, I prefer them frozen because I'll forget about them. It's just, yeah, they're vegetables. But collards, and of course, I mentioned broccoli. And cauliflower isn't like green, dark green, but it's in that ballpark. Vegetables. Um, Fresh watercress, of course, and celery. Um, I think I like Swiss chard more than spinach now, but fresh arugula, I just have to make sure to get to it and put it in salads, and um, of course my green beans. Of course, the right next thing is beans here, but there's probably a few others I like, but I don't really care sometimes for kale. It depends on where it comes from. I'll eat it, And there's probably a lot of other greens I'm not thinking of, but I just can't stomach Brussels sprouts very well either. I like cabbage though. So anyway, and of course bok choy is fine. Chinese cabbage, all that stuff. But turnip greens are a little too strong. Really, yeah. I meant mustard greens. Sorry, I haven't ever found turnip greens. They're just hard to find. But mustard greens are very, very strong tasting. Like, yeah. And of course, asparagus and artichoke are fine. I've never had kohlrabi, maybe rarely. I've had endive. Anyway, so let's go on here. There's a whole bunch of different types of greens, And I'll eat olives, just not a whole lot right now. Avocado a bit more. And I'm eating nuts and seeds, especially a lot of pistachios and some sunflower seeds, but more pistachios and peanuts right now. And also a little bit of cashews. And I'll get into other stuff. Also almonds. There's other vegetables I'm eating as well, just here and there. Carrots and stuff. I don't know. It's just, it's just hard to always get to them. That's the main thing, especially when, in the winter, I seem to kind of crave meat more. It's not just really meat. It's just I think increasingly sometimes I'm craving foods that have a lot of healthy fats or they're energy dense, like nuts. That's the best way of putting it. I don't know. Maybe it's a heat thing. If it gets really cold, you want to have a lot of food that has a lot of energy in it. So, yeah, meat, nuts, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, definitely eating a fair amount of onions and garlic powder and all that stuff. Not so much mushrooms. That can also be improved, and lots of herbs and spices. And there's stuff in here that I'm eating more of, and so I'm not a nutritarian. I keep these things in mind, but I'm not really consuming dairy really, and not really consuming a whole lot of starches, and well, not that much. Some potato, but it's not really very much rice really, and then hardly any gluten stuff. So, yeah, and of course, Dr. Fuhrman doesn't really want us to eat very much meat, but sorry, Dr. Fuhrman, it's the wintertime. Sorry, man. Anyway, he says, no excuse. Like, it gets cold. We need something to keep us warm. Okay, going on here. Dr. Berg. Basically, a lot of the stuff I just mentioned, he advocates. He's just the keto diet. If you're doing the keto diet, you're gonna cut out a lot of fruit. Like fruits are just out. But he does like you to eat more meat and fish, salmon, wild caught salmon. You can't have blueberries and raspberries, of course. That's fine. He's big on all kinds of nuts, by the way. Pecans and macadamia nuts and walnuts and pistachios and other types. They're just very, very nutritious, Pasture-raised eggs. Dr. Berg eats 3 pasture-raised eggs a day, roughly, more or less. Probably a few exceptions, but he's even okay with a little bit of bacon. Everybody loves that bacon. But you gotta watch that sugar. And of course, you gotta eat your vegetables still. Dr. Hyman, he's a vegan, which is combining paleo and vegan. He's like, no dairy, none. Veggie salads are good. Avocado, nuts, seeds, good. Wild caught salmon, good. Dark berries, good. Are you guys noticing a trend here? Cooked greens, some fruit, some dark chocolate, and meat. He says treat it like a condiment meat. And I know I've made a video like this before, but I'm making this a bit more, and there's going to be probably more info in this one. He's also okay with poultry. He's not really nuts. He just probably don't want to have grains. Yeah, at least glutinous. At least no glutinous grains. Yeah. Dr. Weil. Actually, it's one L. Sorry, I keep doing that with double L's. The anti-inflammatory diet. He's actually okay with tea. Tea is good for you. I don't agree, but whatever. At least I'm okay with herbal tea, but okay, fish, yes. Veggies, yes. Nuts, yes. Seeds, yes. Mushrooms, yes. Beans and soy, yes. Herbs and spices, yes. Fruits, especially berries, yes. Whole grains and dark chocolate, sure, but just not too much of it. Again, are you guys noticing a trend here? It says top four: Dr. Fuhrman, Nutritarianism; Dr. Berg, Keto Diet; Dr. Hyman, Vegan Diet; Dr. Weil, the Anti-Inflammatory Diet. Here we go. Next column. Next section here. Mediterranean and Greek food plus German and Scandinavian food. Well, I've tried to get some Mediterranean food in my system. Some fruit from the, I guess you could say, subtropics to warmer temperate regions. So oranges and lemons and limes and grapes and figs and dates are kind of similar, but that's more Middle Eastern, but whatever, that's in the same ballpark. And pine nuts and cremini mushrooms and basil and oregano and fish like anchovies and shrimp and artichoke and olives, of course, and olive oil for that warmer type. And this, of course, is like Turkey too. So Italy, Greece, Turkey, Spain. And of course, Northern Europe. They have their awesome fish like sardines and herring, and other types of fish like that. Of course, they get a lot of meaty stuff, eggs and poultry and I mentioned fish, but they have lutefisk in Norway. Yeah, it's really nasty smelling. Eggs and poultry and meat. But you get that K2, man. I've been having some K2. I'll try to make a video about that in the near future. And they do have dairy and grain, so that's why a lot of people don't like the North European diet. But if you get the healthier stuff, you're probably better off. And of course, in Eastern Europe, they could definitely do a lot of beets and borscht and soups and things that are kind of interesting combinations of like sour cream. Not sour cream, I don't know. They combine cream with paprika or something in Ukraine. They have some pink soup. I'm trying to remember how that goes. But of course, sauerkraut in Germany and Poland, thereabouts. Of course, berries like lingonberries and currants and other types of berries, bilberries and things you don't know about over here in America. This is some of the best stuff among European cuisines, but of course, yes, I know the French they make really amazing food, but more on the France later, the whole French thing. So, the frog eaters. Okay, so over to Asia. Rice is good for you. Sushi is expensive, but it's also good for you. Try to get some of my system. I definitely do. Sushi grade salmon, man. That definitely is good stuff for you. Fish, mushrooms, absolutely. And Asian veggies like daikon radish, bok choy, Chinese cabbage, seaweed or nori, kimchi. All this stuff is really stinking good for you. And you just go to an Asian restaurant and you get some high quality stuff. Not always just the super cheap teriyaki stuff, but go to a nice Korean restaurant. It's not very expensive. You can even get beef bulgogi or egg drop soup or whatever you want to get. You're gonna get some healthy food. They always give you healthy food, so it's always a great choice to go to a healthy Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Thai. I know the North Southeast Asian I'll get to more in a bit, but East Asia is amazing. The most unhealthy stuff, of course, is the MSG Panda Express kind of Chinese quote unquote food. Yes, you know, talk about the Chinese American stuff. Yeah. Still not the worst stuff in the world, but that's not what I'm talking about so much. Okay, on to my church. Yep, I gotta include this here. We don't do drugs, so don't do drugs. No tobacco, no alcohol, no coffee, no black or green tea. Which contradicts, of course, Dr. Weil. And it also contradicts a lot of Asian sensibilities, but that's just what we do. Sorry. In case you're wondering, in case the Asians don't feel left out here, because when we say no coffee, we're also alienating a lot of folks from Latin America and Europe and everywhere, basically. Everyone drinks coffee. No alcohol, so that's Europe. Sometimes also a lot of other places too. Japan, no sake, no, in Africa and everything. So, yep, no beer, no wine, all that stuff. And we try to have mostly plants and low meat and dairy intake, but believe you me, that lasts a little bit. plus the caffeine thing, which you might have heard of also. It's not quite as strictly a big deal, but we still are. We talk about that from time to time. It's a better idea. It's a good idea not to drink caffeinated stuff, and it's a good idea to try to have more plants than meat and dairy in your diet. Okay, Dr. Campbell. Now, some of these guys I've been more familiar with more recently, and I'm sure I'm butchering some of these guys, but you guys are getting the general gist of a lot of these guys, unless you can look up these names yourself. This is just an introductory thing, but these are taking all this information. I mean, you can see where I'm going here in just a bit. He describes himself as a 99% vegan. He eats pretty much, for the most part, whole, unrefined plant foods. So think of all the plant foods out there that are just exist like Mother Nature intended them to exist. Maybe soak your nuts and seeds before you eat them, and he talks about those things in a bit. But certainly soak the beans and make sure everything is soaked. It has all the protein, right? The grains and everything. But yeah, he's not really eating any. He has probably no dairy, hardly any eggs and fish, and probably no poultry or meat. Eat these foods less often than the other big time produce, like lots of produce, lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, right? And beans. Eat these foods less often. Nuts, coconut, avocado, dried fruit, added sweeteners, tofu, tempeh, and miso. Dr. Campbell can correct me if I'm a little bit off on any of this stuff. I'm just trying to summarize his diet. And that's these foods less often. Eat these foods less often because they're just more calories to them. They're heavier foods in the plant food arena. Dried fruit's going to spike your blood sugar more, yes. Added sweeteners are going to be weird, and yeah, you get the idea there with all that stuff. That's Dr. Campbell. Moving on here a little bit. Okay. In the Americas, I included this section because so many healthy foods come from North and South America. Let's go through some of the foods that are more native to our Native Americans, American Indians, whatever you prefer. I often think American Indians tend to go over better. But we're talking about all the American Indian tribes, plus a lot of American cuisine and a lot of Mexican and Central American and Venezuelan, Colombian, and Brazilian and South American cuisines. And okay, here we go. Potatoes, corn, quinoa, blueberries, cranberries, tomatoes, salmon berries, Concord grapes, acai berry, squash, beans, many types, bison, salmon, turkey, and cashew. They call it just cashew in Brazil. And there's many others like acerla cherries, things. They call it cherries, but there's different, many other foods that are just local. Oh, and then of course the tomatillo. I didn't even write that in there. The tomatillo in Mexico. And there's many others I'm probably thinking of also from that ballpark area. A lot of different types of peppers and things as well. But these are all very healthy foods. Every one of these guys. Bison is healthier than beef. It dries out easy, so it's frustrating to get a dried out piece of bison. But it's still better overall for you than beef. But we're also big on those fats sometimes. I know it's kind of this, everyone's wondering how much fats they need to eat. Well, if it's grass-fed, that fat's probably going to be better for you than if it's regular. That's all I'm going to say. It's not always a question of quantity somewhat. It's kind of a question of what is all in that fat. It's what's it going to do for you or not do for you. Anyway. Healthy meats, folks. Grass-fed red meat, if you can get it. Dr. Glidden, Dr. Peter Glidden. Many people don't know about this guy still. He's a naturopath. I still have my about him, but he makes a lot of sense. No gluten, no oats, no wheat, no barley, no rye, none of that stuff. None of it. No oil in a bottle. No fried foods. No well-done meat. No deli meats. He's also talking about no smoked or cured meats. None of that stuff. No bologna, no salami, no pepperoni. None of that stuff. No. No soda or carbonated drinks. No baked potato skins. Makes a lot of sense, but I'm still not taking him quite as seriously as some of these other folks, but I can't ignore what he's saying. He's making a lot of sense. He's also, I didn't put this in here, but he's actually advocating grass-fed butter and lard in place of oil. Again, you make up your own mind. I just know about what he says. Some of it makes sense. Some of it I don't take as much, but at least I know what he's talking about. At least I've heard him, and I will continue to hear him out because I know there's still things we're learning about. But here's the thing, folks, about the oil and the butter and things. It's just a good idea not to have very much of that stuff anyway. But if you're gonna have any of this stuff, to be honest, sorry, folks, just checking something here. Sorry about that. Okay, if you're gonna have oil, you might as well go with olive oil. It's the highest quality you can get. It's not super expensive. Cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. Don't worry if it's in a bottle. He just says it oxidizes and stuff. I don't put too much stock in that. It's just a question of how much of that stuff you're getting in your system. But in the Mediterranean diet, they have a fair bit of olive oil. They're doing okay. So Dr. Glidden can rip my head off if he wants to, but I'm still listening to him. I'm still going to listen to him the rest of my life. So, okay. But many of the other things, yeah, don't eat fried foods. Don't cook the snot out of your meat. It's not healthy. Have your meat medium or medium rare. Make sure it's not rare is not a good idea, but medium or medium rare. Medium rare is probably best. Gluten is not good for you, right? Yeah, we know what soda is not good for you. Okay, so going on to Mark Sisson. He has his big ASS veggie salad. Oh, he has. Okay. He's a surfer guy, right? He likes his maple syrup and honey. I'm kind of combining paleo and primal here. I should probably get the two straightened out if they're different, but we're talking about the same kind of stuff here. We're talking about a fair bit of animal protein like salmon and fish and wild caught stuff that way. Pasture raised eggs, and also, poultry and meat that are high quality, organic poultry, grass-fed red meat, right? But we're also talking, you got to get your greens, your veggies, your salads. You eat a lot of salad, eat a lot of greens, cooked greens, fruit, raw, fermented dairy, nuts and seeds, a little bit of quinoa, rice, and potatoes as well. It's a pretty good grubbing diet. I know about it. I'm not putting too much stock in. I mean, that's pretty straightforward stuff. It's nothing too whatever. Dr. Barnard advocates a diet that I think my family is already kind of familiar with anyway. My own family eats a lot like this as it is. Starch-based vegan, oatmeal, fruit, beans, veggie salads, cooked greens, grains, bananas, nuts, and seeds. It's pretty straightforward for stuff, folks. Dr. Barnard isn't advocating something that's all that alien, really, to us. He's just saying don't eat the little duckies and stuff. Don't eat the little chickies and etc. Going to all these newer things that maybe even mentioned. So yeah, vegetable police. He's into this medical medium diet thing, celery juice, and the medical medium diet also advocates other stuff as well, consuming that stuff. But it's a pretty interesting diet. You guys can look up that medical medium diet thing if you want to. But it's Anthony William that's kind of started this. I also am familiar with Jamaican and Rastafarian diets, which have, you get talking about a lot of tropical fruits and coconut and plantain and banana, allium family a little bit, like using chives and green onion, a lot of green onion and other stuff like that, in your soups and things. And then a lot of Rastafarians don't do animal foods, but some of them will do eggs, some of them will do shrimp. But technically speaking, I think they're supposed to be vegan, and they stay away from the red meat and chicken a lot of times. And of course, the Southeast Asian, Polynesian, tasty fruits. Some of these guys you probably know about already: pomegranate, pineapple, cherimoya, mangosteen, mango, passion fruit, guava, breadfruit, lychee, papaya, mahi-mahi, kiwi fruit. All this stuff is really good for you. It's easy to overdo it, especially if you're chubbier. You probably don't want to have as much of some of this stuff. But these foods can be very, very healthy. And then mahi-mahi is a fish, by the way. These can be really good for you if you're more fit, especially. But that mahi-mahi is going to do you wonders. It's one of the best fish out there. There's also, mackerel and stuff too. But anyway, East Indian food. Rice. Jasmine and basmati rice. Brown and white. I know everyone says brown is better. Getting a little bit of white in there is probably okay. But brown basmati rice, along with wild rice, some of the best rice you can buy. mint, mango, coconut, fennel, egg, onion, spices, paprika, turmeric, cumin, which is also Mexican food, uh, asafoetida powder, amchor, fenugreek, mace. Um, I mentioned, I think coriander, cilantro is more Mexican food, like pico de gallo or guacamole or whatever. But there's all kinds of other spices that they use. I'm only thinking of here. Um, Ginger, just like in East Asia. Ghee butter, lamb, naan bread, and some of the stuff is more toward Pakistan, I know, and northwestern India and north of Iran. But I know they eat more uh, the lentils and shrimp and coconut stuff, coconut-based curries in the south and east. Gets more meaty and bread like up toward Pakistan and Iran. But chicken and goat and lentils, chickpeas, rosette flavored ice cream. That's kind of a Persian thing. And no pork or beef in India, which is going to do them wonders. East African food, I also said, make a smiley face here. East African grains are really awesome for you. Ethiopian cuisine, similar to East Indian in ways, because there's that connection across the Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea and stuff. So, Dr. Greger, I have to mention him. I know he's not a very nice guy. He has some good things to say. He just hates carnivores. He's the most hardcore vegan on here, and believe you me, he eats his vegetables, especially collard greens and kale and broccoli and cauliflower and all that stuff, and asparagus and Alliaceae and Asteraceae and Cucurbitaceae, basically all the vegetables, every single one of them, asparagus and other vegetables, celery, carrots. He's a rabbit, right? He's a rabbit. Easy on the chenopods, like spinach, Swiss chard, beets and stuff, because that stuff can give you oxalates and it can lead to gallstones if you're not careful. Fruits and beans and nuts and seeds and olives and avocado and herbs and spices, and don't eat any chickies, right? That's Dr. Greger. We love Dr. Greger. He's just kind of a little bit hardcore sometimes. Okay. All right. Now, how do I make sense of all this? And I really, at this point, don't have very much more time in my video, so you can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. I'm considering everything that everybody's saying. The stuff toward the top, I try to keep in mind more when I go shopping. As you get more toward the bottom right, and I already know about the word of wisdom. That's really easy to remember. So that's different. This bottom thing, that's like the don'ts. But do eat a lot of plant foods, right? It's just I don't smoke, I don't drink alcohol, don't do drugs, right? We understand that's kind of part of that. But basically everything up here, like I try to keep the chocolate and the meat and the poultry and the juice within reason. Try not to overdo it. Sometimes I do it. I know I'm not supposed to. But all this other stuff on the left, grass-fed butter, not so much, right? A little bit. Just for cooking, right? Just for cooking. It's better for cooking, Dr. Glidden. Okay. But all this stuff on the left and the top. Fish and eggs, debatably, but no, I like fish and eggs. Yes, this is healthier stuff that I know I can eat more often and not have to feel like I'm being a bad boy. But these 4 foods my brother Andrew really advocates for anybody who has weight problems. He said to me, and for anybody who has some serious gut issues and they're morbidly obese and whatever, along with water, drinking lots of water, he says to his patients that have real weight issues, all I want you to eat is salmon, chicken, broccoli, and spinach. That's my brother's 4 foods that he's like, that's all I want you to eat. Right? I'm sure you can add to that list, but that's probably pretty good advice. Because it's kind of like which diet? It's kind of like, oh my gosh, this keto diet up here. Dr. Berg. Even Dr. Berg says, hey, a little bit of blueberries and raspberries, you can have some of that stuff and you're okay. What? If you're really seriously super chubby, maybe just for a bit at least. I've done, by the way, folks, I've actually done a no carb thing for 2 weeks. That was different. Let me tell you what. In the past, I can tell you that more in a different video if you want to know what that was like. I definitely lost weight, but that was not easy at all. Anyway, the keto diet, I still know about it. I still try to keep some things about it in mind. But man alive, I want my fruit Dr. Fuhrman. I know I have to hit my vegetables as well. So what's everybody saying? I have to wrap this up here in a second, folks. Everybody is saying, don't smoke the weed or smoke the seed. No, I mean, like, so don't do drugs, kids. Eat your vegetables. Don't go to McDonald's. Eat a lot of plant foods. Watch the sugar a little bit in fruit, but don't worry about it too much. The chubbier you are, the more you probably want to eat more vegetables. Yeah, watch your GI, glycemic index. Junk food is junk food. It's not healthy. Have it here and there, but be careful. Keep in mind, of course, your own tastes, convenience, and everything like that. Time in the day to make stuff. Try to include a little bit of stuff from everybody, a lot of cuisines in the world. It's not too expensive for the most part. Fish is probably a good idea. Eggs, if you can handle it. The more complex animal foods, take it easy on those things. Everybody's kind of saying similar things, but they're just emphasizing their own little thing, and the vegans are kind of death about anything that's not plant food. So, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Catch you guys later. Oh, leave me thoughts and comments below. Catch you guys later. Take care. Bye for now.